What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Welcome. Happy Friday. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott of Subliminal Mindset Mastery here in London, Ontario. And today we have a very good show. Today's show is called Trust Your Gut. Now, has that ever happened in your life where you've sort of gone, "Oh, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure." It happens to me quite often. In all honesty, it happens to me quite often. So we're going to walk through some of the stuff that I feel is around this whole issue. And we're also going to, in the third segment, as per usual, we're going to have some actual action steps for you to take. So make sure you've got your pen and paper handy. And right now, let's just get into it. So on Time to Rise and Thrive, we talk about subliminal soundtrack. We talk about this quite a lot, and I'll give you a brief explanation of that in just a moment. But we talk about subliminal soundtrack. We talk about recognizing our own unique beauty and contribution, our value, all kinds of very, very, very important things. I'm sure that you can understand that when we come to the table, when we know what our value is, when we know what we're worth, and we come to the table with that, things are different than when we don't, obviously, right? So, this is what we're going to talk about today, trusting our gut. Yum, yum, yum. All right. So, have you ever found yourself making a decision that doesn't feel quite right, but doing it anyway because it seems to be the more logical choice? Yes. Yes. It's how we're conditioned, isn't it? Yes. So trust can be difficult, especially when your gut seems to go completely against the thing that your mind is saying. In order to learn to trust your gut, it's very important to sit quietly and allow some clarity to come. Now, this is a hard thing for some people, and we're going to go through the why, why it can be so difficult as we get into the show. But right now, let's get into this subliminal soundtrack thing. So your subliminal soundtrack is this sort of loop of messages that plays in the back of your mind all day, every day. It's made up of little bits of information that you've gathered throughout your life. So, every relationship you've ever been in, every conversation you've ever had, every lesson you've ever learned, every single circumstance that has come your way in your life has given you little tiny bits of information that have then gotten stored on this subliminal soundtrack. And we use that information to help us make our values, our belief systems, all of that really important stuff about who we are, about what things mean about the world in general. It's very important for us to get clear on what's happening on our subliminal soundtrack because when we're not, we can actually be functioning out of fear, out of making decisions that other people might think are good for us based on the learning that we've done rather than actually learning to trust ourselves and make the decisions that are right for us. It can really muck your life up when you're on this sort of autopilot and you've got messages in there that aren't helpful. So, our goal when we work with the subliminal soundtrack is to actually shift and change those messages from whatever is holding us back or causing us to have fear and have anxiety and all kinds of other stuff about the things that are going on in our lives. Our goal is to shift that into messages that will support us in taking action and moving forward to what we really do desire, to what really might make us happy. Do you see what I'm saying? It's very, very important. So, this is one of the things that we'll talk about as we go through. So, as far as this subliminal soundtrack thing goes with this area of trusting your gut, if you believe that you have bad judgment and the decisions that you make almost never work out for you, then you will likely have trouble trusting your gut and going in the direction that may well be better for you. In fact, what you'll probably do is you will probably put your trust in other people's opinions. And, opinions are wonderful. Everybody's got them. But here's the thing, most of the time they stink. Okay? Opinions are like armpits or assholes. Most of the time they stink. So here's the deal, we want to shift from that space where we're trusting other people's judgment into that power place where we are actually trusting our own. Because if we believe that we all have an internal radar, an internal guidance system that tells us valuable information that we need to listen to, you'll pay attention to that quiet little voice back there somewhere that's trying to tell you what you really need to do here. And you will incorporate that into your decision making process. So this morning, as I'm getting ready for the show, and I'm thinking about, okay, so what do we want to talk about here? Because I wanted to go in sort of a direction of like conscience, but that doesn't feel right. But it's that like that gut feeling that you don't know how you know this thing, but you know this thing, right? We meet people and we're like, oh, I'm going to keep you way over there. No, this doesn't feel nice. And then we meet the other people that you're just like, oh, I want you in my space. I enjoy your company. Whatever it is, right? We have this internal guidance system that we need to incorporate into our decision making process. And if something is telling us that this situation or that person or this job or whatever it is for you, this is wrong. And your mind is going, no, 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 it checks off all of the boxes. It's the right thing to do. We need to listen to that little thing that's telling us, no, no, this is a bad idea. Because a lot of times, when we make decisions based solely on the facts in front of us, based solely on what our mind is telling us, we will go in a direction that actually turns out to be hard for us or harder for us than the other direction might have been. We don't always know all of the circumstances, and I'm thinking particularly about job situations and whatnot. You might walk into a job and think, oh yes, this is exactly right for me, this is exactly right for me, and then you get in there and the office politics and all the stuff that you have no way of knowing until you get there will slowly eat away at your soul. Do you see what I'm saying? So if you have that gut feeling that's saying, oh, no, 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 you must listen to it. You must listen to it. That could be your intuition, your angels, your God, your guys, your like whatever language works for you. I have no judgment about that. Whatever language works for you. But there is this thing that we can tap into, and even when we don't try to sometimes, especially for the important things. Okay, especially for the important things. So there's a thing, and I don't like to talk about certain things very often on the show, but when it feels like it's a really good way to explain something, then I will sort of cross over into that territory. So trusting your gut can be hard. It can be very hard. And particularly when you find yourself in a position where you went in a direction, you went into a relationship, you stayed in like a friendship or a situation where it caused you a great deal of struggle or pain or dis-ease or whatever the case may be, and you stayed there especially for a long time. So this for me, this shows up most clearly in relationships because people people don't always show themselves to be exactly who they really are. So we trust somebody. We trust somebody, and then one day all of a sudden something changes and we're left going, wait a second, what just happened? What just happened here? I don't know what just happened. And then we have to go through a process to heal and to get back on our feet and to move forward in our lives. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing, when you find yourself in that position, if you're anything like me, one of the things that I find myself sort of wanting to pick up that stick and beat myself over the head with it, one of those things is, how could I have been so fooled? How could I have been so deceived that I didn't understand this thing to be what it is? I thought it was this, but now it's showing up that it's this, and I don't know how I didn't see it. Okay. So follow that energy, feel that like that, like, oh my God, the confusion and the judgment and the dis-ease with yourself and with whatever the situation is that you're dealing with. Because when that happens, then it's like, wow, how can I trust myself? Uh, I'm going to say that again. How can I trust myself? when I now find myself in this position that I should have seen coming and I didn't see it coming? How can I trust myself? So, there's a couple of things that we're going to talk about around that specific thing. How can you trust yourself? This is one situation. There's one situation here where things went off the rails or where you didn't see it coming or where you had no warning. Whatever it is, right? And I'm sure that we've all been there. So think about that situation. It is one situation. There are still probably hundreds or thousands of times when you did hear that voice and you took action. You removed yourself from a situation. You did not go in that direction. It is one situation. One mistake does not make or break your life. One mistake does not make or break your life. Okay? There's learning in all of it. And when I found myself most recently in that space, one of the things that I had to come to grips with, that I had to forgive myself, was that there were things that I should have seen. I chose not to see them. Okay. So we're talking about this thing that we talk about a lot on the show, radical personal responsibility. I chose not to see the flags. I chose not to see the warning signs. I chose not to hear the things that I should have heard. I should have. And that's a really ugly energy. So we're not going to stay there very long. But we have to go through this process of correcting our thought because, okay, so you messed up. I messed up here. I messed up here and I put myself in this position. Okay. I haven't done that all the time. I've only done that in a few situations. Most of the time, most of the time, my gut, my internal guidance system, my radar, my spidey senses, most of the time are right on the money. Okay. And maybe this is one of the things that happens as we get to a certain age where we actually can look back and start to connect the dots and say, okay, this happened, which led to this, which led to this, which led to that. There are millions of possibilities out there. Okay. Because if I had chosen instead of going into this direction to go over here, then everything after that would have been affected. Correct. So, one of the other things that we're going to talk about as far as that goes is maybe you weren't ready to see the truth. Maybe for some reason it served you, or, if you want to talk about this in terms of learning, maybe you weren't ready to learn the lesson yet. All right. So it's very important for us to get to the space where we can sort of allow. Uh, there's this thing that I want to say. It's this idea that we are always exactly where we are meant to be. We are always in exactly the position where we are meant to be, even if it sucks, even if it is very painful and very hard. There is a reason for it. There is a reason for everything that happens. And I mean, that's my belief system. Maybe it's not yours, but my belief system says there is a reason for every single thing. There is a lesson here. There is something that I'm going to turn this into, or I'm going to understand things differently. So the next time something that comes along like this, I'm going to do it different next time. Do you see what I'm saying? So there is always something that we can take away from even the most difficult, even the most painful circumstances. There is always something. So we have to find the diamond sometimes. We have to dig through the rubble. We have to do our work to forgive ourselves, to forgive the other people, to come to a place of peace and understanding. Whatever it is, right? There is a process in everything that we go through. The grief process is part of it. There's also that process of, okay, I'm not going to just act like this didn't happen. I'm not going to just push it over there and pretend that I'm fine. I'm going to dig deep into this and carry away something. I'm going to take something of value with me out of this. And it might take me a year to figure it out, but I'm going to find that thing. Okay. So there's always that learning, that diamond, that something, right? It's always there. You just have to be willing to dig and find it. Sometimes you're digging through the shit. It's true. I'm sorry. There's no nice way to say that. Sometimes you have to dig through the shit to get to the diamond underneath. But you can do it. You can do it no matter where you're at. You can get to where your next step is if you are willing to embrace the learning from whatever the situation was that caused you to be in that position. Okay? All right, you've got this. So one last point, and then we're going to go to break because, we got to stay on track, man. I get going sometimes. I get going on here, and it's like, oh, it's also very important and it's exciting, and I need to say this and I need to say that. I get going, and then I get completely off track time wise. It's terrible. I love my Jen. Jen is such an amazing producer. We've got a lot of really great people that work on the team here, so I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky to have them. And I am going to give you one last point to think about when we go to our break. This position that we find ourselves in, um, it can be this thing where it's like a war. It's a war between what my mind is saying and what my heart is saying, or my gut, or my spirit. What like use whatever language works. But it's this is what my brain is saying. This is what my mind is, or this is what my heart is saying. This is what my being is longing for right now. Okay. Um, what we're striving for is to come to a place where we can balance. We can balance the logic and the feeling, the intuition, the gut, whatever that is, balance the two. And last point before we go, when you don't feel comfortable, don't move forward. Okay? Don't be pushed into making a decision that does not feel right for you. So, on that note, we're going to head to our first break. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and today we are talking about trusting your gut, learning to listen to that small, quiet voice that's in the back of your mind that is there for us to give us direction, to give us understanding. So, stick with us. We will be back in just a moment.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about trusting your gut, learning to tap into that thing inside you that it's trying to give you guidance and direction. And I told you Jen is an amazing host. She's just asked such a great question. So give me just a second. I'm going to pull it up here. She says, how do you differentiate that discomfort from trusting your gut versus pushing the walls of your comfort zone? It's such a great question. Such a great question, Jen. So here's the thing. And I'm not going to tell you necessarily how you're going to differentiate it, but I will tell you how I do. So there is a thing that happens sometimes in me, which is I call it the pull. In all honesty, I call it a pull. It is like this thing that is like, you need to do this, 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 over, like over and over and over and over again. So for me, that's how I identify it's a pull, and it always takes me in the right direction, even if it might not look at it or look like it at first. Always. So how I differentiate it is, there is this thing about pushing the comfort zone. So doing that, like, okay, I'm getting ready to jump here, I know that this is the right direction for me to go. I am terrified right now, I am scared crapless right now, but I know, because there's that, like, oh, it is that intuition thing that I'm trying to think of other words for it, but it's that thing that causes you to know that this is a thing that you must take action on or not take action on. It could be either way, right? Because sometimes pushing through our comfort zone, like, there's always this lightness. There's always this, like, this is the thing that's going to help me to get to the next place. This is the thing that's going to help me learn the thing that I need to learn. This is the thing that's going to blow up the bridge to my life so those people stay away. This is the thing. Do you see what I'm saying? There's always a thing that results from it. Even though I may not understand it, I always trust that. So if something is nagging at me and will not go away, I always sit with that first. And if I'm still at peace, if I'm peaceful about this is the right thing, then I will jump. But I also, like, I mean, I jump, man. I don't wait around. I know that there is a limited time for me to be here, and I feel like there is something important for me to do. So I am in a position in my life where I keep I keep taking the next step, the next jump, the next leap, trusting the process that's happening for me. Now, Jen, I'm not sure. Did that answer your question? We'll just give her a second to reply. But that for me is the thing. There is this internal pull. Okay, great. She says, sure did. So that's for me the thing that happens. Now, we don't really learn this thing. We don't really learn this thing. And this is why, okay, this is where the subliminal soundtrack comes in, number one, because it's the conditioning of science and math and equation and 1 + 1 = 2 and A plus B equals C and all of that. That is what we are conditioned to do with our minds, right? So it is a thing where this logic is, it, it appears to be the right thing. Okay. And it may well be. What I'm asking you to do is to not base it solely on the logic of things. Okay. So, not a yes and not a no, just based on what I think. Getting into my body, feeling the feelings that are coming up for me. Am I feeling sick to my stomach about something? Am I feeling that, like, whoo, this is exciting? What am I feeling? Okay. And learning to differentiate between the sick to my stomach because I'm so bloody excited and nervous, and the sick to my stomach, it's like, oh, but it's a process and we have to use it. It's like a muscle that you have to build. You have to build that muscle in order for it to work properly. It's the same thing. So just practice. Practice with small things. Like, don't all of a sudden go, "Oh, I'm going to quit my job, sell my house and move to Africa." Don't make that your first thing. Please don't make that your first thing. But play with the small decisions. Would I like to have tea or coffee? What does my body feel like? Would I rather have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee? Shut your mind down. What does your body say? Maybe your body says, no, no, we'd rather have a glass of water or whatever. So play with this small stuff. Would I like to wear a dress today? Would I like to wear a top and pants? Would I like to, whatever? Start to play with the small things that are not like, they're almost inconsequential. So they're not going to have big impacts on your life, whether I wear a dress or pants today. It really doesn't matter a whole lot. It's not going to affect my financial life. It's not going to affect my living. It's not going to affect anything. Do you see what I'm saying? So play with the small stuff first. And when you start to get that, like, Oh, I know what this feeling means. I know what this feeling means. This feeling means yes, yes, yes. This feeling means no, no, no. All right. Play with it, get comfortable so that you understand what it means because this is stuff that we have never learned. Nobody has ever taught us in a class in school, or I don't know, maybe you've gone to a different type of school than I did. I don't know, it's possible. But nobody ever taught me that it was supposed to be about both. I was always taught this is you think it through, you make your pros and cons lists and all of that kind of stuff. You make your pros and cons. What does my mind tell me? What does my logic tell me is the right decision for me at this point in time? There's this separation of this is the right thing and this is the wrong thing, okay? But the truth of the matter is that there's a whole spectrum in between. So it could be that maybe I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do it in that way. Or there's a different way for me to go. There's always a way to, or there's always more than one way, I'm sorry, to arrive at the same place. Maybe you take the direct route down the highway. Maybe you take the route around that's actually more beautiful and you just feel like taking your time and seeing the beauty around you. Do you see what I'm saying? There's always more than one way to arrive at the same place. So maybe it's a thing where, okay, so the person that's going to help me with this just hasn't shown up yet. So I know that this is the right way to go, but not right now. Just not right now. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a thing, and we have to get comfortable playing with it, and we have to be prepared to be wrong. We have to be prepared because here's the other thing. Right and wrong are judgments, okay? And even if it maybe is the wrong choice for you, what have you learned from the experience? What did you learn from the relationship that ultimately broke your heart? What did you learn from the course that you took that you thought, oh, geez, like I'm never going to have to use this? What did you learn from the job that caused you to start your own business? What do you see what I'm saying? There's always a diamond buried in there somewhere. You just have to be willing to dig through the crap to get to it. Okay. So forget about right and wrong. Just forget about right and wrong. So one of the things where this has really shown up for me, you must be prepared that there are other people who have their own opinions, their own thoughts, their own subliminal soundtrack that tells them what is right and what is wrong. So I will tell you, like, if you've watched the show at all, you know that I have an accounting background. I still actually do that kind of work, and I tried the corporate world. I did. I tried the corporate world because logically, oh my God, there's good pay and benefits and like whatever security and maybe a pension or like whatever, right? So I tried the corporate world and it killed my soul. I cannot live comfortably in that environment. So if you think about a flower, like I will thrive when I'm able to be creative, when I'm able to, you know decide what I'm going to work on and how I'm going to do it and so on and so forth. I will thrive in that environment. But if you try to put me in the corporate environment, I will wilt and die. Like there is no ifs, ands, or buts. I tried it multiple times actually because my mind kept telling me that this is the right way to go. And I will share with you, my mother she's a lovely woman. She is a lovely, lovely woman. And she has her own ideas. She has her own value system. She has her own thoughts about things. And I remember so many times her telling me, you know what, just give up your business. Just give up your business and go and get a job with the government. Then you'll have a pension. Okay, well, that makes sense for you. That's awesome. That's awesome, right? Um, it's not the right move for me. It's flat out not the right move for me. So we actually had words at one point, and I said to her, when are you going to get it? Like, when are you going to get it? I'm not going. That is not my path. That is not my path. I mean, I have no judgment. If that's the right path for other people, then go have fun. But for me, my path is going in a different direction, and I need to follow it. So that brings us to one of the really important pieces of this is that you are the person who is going to have to live with the consequences of any decision that you make. whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether or not it's like, am I going to be a parent? Am I not going to be a parent? Am I going to live in this city or that city? Am I going to, any decision that you make, you will be the one who will live with the consequences. So it's very important for you to be the person who's in the driver's seat when you're making that decision. It doesn't mean that we don't go to our tribe or our family or whomever for thoughts or ideas or whatever. It doesn't mean that we don't look at other points of view or get more information wherever it's possible. It doesn't mean that we don't do any of that. It means that I now have this piece and this piece. So like pretend I've got a pot in front of me. So I've got this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece, and I'm going to put them all in the pot, and then I'm going to mix it up. And what does it look like? What does it look like? Okay. Because whenever you're doing a recipe, one of the things that for me is so very important when I cook is I usually, if I'm trying something that I've never tried before, I'll start with the recipe the first time. So, the exact measurements and times and all of that sort of stuff. But almost always at a certain point, I take that recipe and I tweak it to be the thing that's mine, right? So the pot roast doesn't taste exactly the same as someone else's pot roast. Still tastes really yummy, but it's not the same. Do you see what I'm saying? So don't forget when you've got that pot and you've got your mom's opinion and your spouse's opinion and your kid's opinion and your friend's opinion, don't forget to throw your own in there too. And that really should be the biggest part. That really should be the biggest part of any recipe for any decision that you are making. All right, so we are going to head to our next break now. When we come back, we are going to go through these sort of action steps. So make sure you grab yourself a pen and paper. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive. Today, we are talking about trusting your gut, learning to tap into that space inside you that will offer you guidance and direction. So grab your pen and paper, and I'll meet you back here in a minute, okay? See you in a minute.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
How wonderful would it be to carry your favorite Inspired Choices Network host with you throughout your day? Well, now you can. Inspired Choices Network now has its very own mobile app. Our free app offers live streaming shows, along with thousands of podcasts and TV episodes. Our shows cover a wide variety of topics. Whether you're waking up with us, carrying us through the day, and taking us to bed with you, we're always here for you to enjoy. We're easy to find. Just search for Inspired Choices Network in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back. You're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. Today we are talking about trust your gut, and we're exploring this idea of tapping into that small, quiet voice that helps us to have guidance and direction. So now is the time in the show where I'm supposed to share a bit of stuff with you about what's going on. Really quickly, if you have not grabbed your pen and paper yet, go do that now while I share this stuff with you. So I am a person who seems to be going through a lot of transitioning in my life. It's been kind of a theme for quite a long time. And it's wonderful because at each point I learn so much about myself and about the world in general. It's wonderful. So things in my world, in my business are once again evolving and changing. And I'm going to have some very big news to share with you in the near future, but we're not going to go there. I will tell you this: there's a new program that is it's going to be all about starting over. So what do you do when you find yourself in a position where your life has gone completely off the rails and you have no idea what happened or how you got here or what you got to do next or how to start? It can be incredibly overwhelming. It can be very traumatic, and it can help to have somebody offer some guidance and understanding, a shoulder, an ear, whatever it is that you need as you're walking through that process. So there will be this new program. I'm very excited about. Yeah, it's coming very soon. So if you or someone you know are going through this one of those periods where you just don't know, you don't know what to trust, you don't know what to think, you don't know, is that my gut, is that something different, we don't know, then please, I would encourage you to go to www.bookacallwithjackie.com, and you and I can get on the phone for a few minutes, have a conversation about what's happening in your world. I'll give you a bit of guidance, and I also can then share with you some of the things that I might suggest under your personal circumstances. So, again, that's www.bookacallwithjackie.com, and go there to schedule a personal call with me. And yeah, I'm excited about all of that. And if you've been watching the show, I'm sure that you can sort of see how things flow and connect. It's really quite exciting. It's really quite exciting. So, what if we could come to this place where, um, like, trauma almost can become the thing that opens doors, that allows us to flow differently, allows us to step into a different place in our world or a different role or whatever it is, right? What if we could actually embrace that shifting and changing, even though it's hard? What if we could embrace it? Oh, God, this is the stuff that gets me all like excited and jazzed up. So, yeah. So, www.bookacallwithjackie.com, and we'll get on the phone and chat for a few minutes or on a Zoom call or something like that, and see what we can do. See what we can do to help you get through whatever it is that you're going through. And there are a lot of people right now. You know, COVID has been a thing, and there are a lot of people that are going through stuff at the moment. So I would love to support you. I would love to support you. Go ahead and book your call. So now we're going to get into the meat of it. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right. So, what do we do? What do we do when we find ourselves in a position where we need to make a decision, and we know that we need to balance this mind and heart or spirit or whatever words you're using? What do we do? So, first step in almost everything that we talk about, the first step is to get yourself to a quiet place. Find a spot where nobody's going to disturb you for a little while. Maybe it's when you lay down in bed at night. I don't know. Maybe it is when you walk your dog, or maybe not, because dogs can be kind of distracting. Find yourself a place, okay? Find yourself a place where you are not going to be bothered for at least a few minutes. And then get yourself into that quiet spot, okay? Like internally, that quiet spot, because we have to slow down all of that monkey chatter that's going on in our head. That's the mind, that's the subliminal soundtrack, that's the racing thing. And we need to slow that down so that we can actually hear the thing that's behind it, okay? So get yourself into that quiet spot. Next thing you need to do is ask for guidance. You know, this could be a prayer, this could be a meditation, this could be like any number of different things. And depending on what your belief system is, right? I believe in a higher power. So I often will call this my prayer, and I will ask for guidance. What is it that I can't hear right now? What is it that is in the back of my mind that I can't quite tap into? What is that thing? Please help me see it. Okay. Meditation. Maybe you throw on a meditation on your computer or on your phone or whatever it is, and you just allow yourself to get into that really quiet space. But you must ask for guidance from your God, from your guides, from your angels, from your ancestors, from whomever it is that you would like their thoughts. Ask for it. Okay? When you get that bit, this is our next step. When you get that piece of information, consider what it's saying. So this is, remember, we're balancing, right? We're balancing. You don't want to just like pull the trigger and off. You want to give yourself some time to process both, because we want to balance that mind and spirit. So is this thing inside that I'm tapping into, is it valid or is it invalid? Is it something that is based on fear? Is it something that's based on excitement? Is it something that is opening up possibilities? Is it something that's making me feel like this? I need to protect myself. What is it? Okay, so consider what it is that's coming through and how it makes you feel, or the thoughts that come into your mind, or whatever the case may be. And you have to ask really clearly, is this valid or is it invalid? So, with that point, okay, subliminal soundtrack. So, for example, let's say relationships, because this is often, and it doesn't have to be romantic, okay? I'm not talking necessarily about your spouse or whatever, but in relationships, this is where this stuff often is really easy to to work with, because people understand it so easily. Okay. If you have, for example, had multiple partners who all were abusive to you, um, it wouldn't probably be surprising if you have a message back there that says relationship is dangerous. Loving someone is dangerous. Allowing someone to love me is dangerous. Love is dangerous. Do you see what I'm saying? So, is this a valid thing? Is this a valid thing? Or is it something that's based on our programming, on our conditioning? Is it something where it's like a valid red flag because, oh, they just lied to me? This person just lied to me outright. So it's valid for me to question their ability to be honest now, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Or is it that thing where, oh, I'm just waiting for them to lie to me because I know they're going to. I'm just waiting for them to strike me because I know they're going to. I'm waiting for them to cheat on me because I know they're going to. Do you see what I'm saying? So is it a valid truth or is it an invalid thing that's this subliminal soundtrack working against you? Okay? Now, we need to do the balancing. Weigh out the benefits and drawbacks of both. Okay. So, and maybe you can't always predict what's going to happen, but what do you think is going to be the result of you taking action or not taking action in this particular way? And that, again, we're balancing. So, that's what our head says and also what our being says. Danger, 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 or you know what? I need to do this. I need to do this. I may not want to, but I need to do this. Okay. Balance it. And I have this beautiful friend. I have this beautiful friend named Kathleen. I've known her for a very long time. Our kids were actually born, I think, within months of each other, and we met when they were very young, like still infants. So I've known her a very, very, very long time. And Kathleen has this bit of wisdom, a bit of wisdom. She says, if you don't know what to do, do nothing until you do. Do nothing until you do. So until you have that clarity, don't take action. Don't allow people to push you into anything. Don't feel that pressure of I need to make a decision. I need to make a decision right now, right now. Give yourself some grace, give yourself some time and the space to be with that thing until you know which is the right direction. That's when you take action. Okay. So, those are the tips that I've got for you on this particular subject. We're going to head to our last break now. When we come back, we are going to wrap up today's conversation about trusting your gut, learning to listen to that quiet little voice inside for guidance and direction. So, stick with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to our final segment of today's show. You're with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. Today we are talking about trust your gut, learning to listen to that small, quiet voice that will give you guidance and direction. So, where I think I want to leave things off today, I'm going to share with you one of my cardinal rules. So I don't know if other people do this, but I have sort of like, these are my non-negotiables. These are the things that I live by. And I will tell you, when it comes to this particular subject matter, my cardinal rule is that if it impacts my life, then I have a right to an opinion. If it doesn't, then it's not my monkey and not my circus. So particularly, when we're making big decisions, I am thinking for some reason today about Alberta and when we moved out to Alberta, and that was a really big. It was a big decision. It affected everything, right? Finances, where you live, what you do, how you do it, relationships that you're leaving behind because they're not coming with you. All of that kind of stuff. It affects pretty much every area of your life when you are making that kind of a decision. And particularly if you are in a family sort of situation, it's important for us to have this like consideration of other people's needs, wants, desires, and so on and so forth. Now, I want to be really clear because you may find yourself in a position where making the decision that's right for you causes you to leave those relationships behind. It is very difficult when we come to that place. And it's like the crossroad, right? So I can continue to go in the same direction with these same people, with these same factors in my world. But good God, I want to go over there. I want to go over there. And how is it going to impact me? How is it going to impact other people? So particularly if you're getting into positions where there are very important relationships, where there are finances involved, that kind of stuff, it's very important to have a thought and a place of consideration for the other people who are affected by that decision. Okay. If it does not affect someone, they are absolutely allowed to have an opinion, but that does not, it doesn't make them right. It doesn't make you wrong, or vice versa. Okay. They're allowed to have an opinion. And I really do. I have sort of this trusted circle, and it's very small. I'm going to say there's five or less people in it. I can think of four off the top of my head. Um, so there's like this very trusted circle of people that when I am facing a big decision, or when I have a thought process that is going to have an impact on my living situation, my money, my whatever the case may be, I will go to those people and say, so this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? But to be clear, those people have all proven themselves to be able to separate their opinion from what I should do. Okay. It's important for you to find people who will give you their thoughts, because again, there could be another point of view that I'm just not able to see. And often when we're mucked in or mired in the thing that's happening, or the situation that whatever, when we're mired there, it can be really difficult to see things from like above, that what do they call it, like the eagle view or eagle's eye view or something like that. It can be hard to see the other factors that are just outside of it, because we are so focused on what are we dealing with right this second, and we have to be, because that's survival mode. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going to your people. Take that information into your, oh, Jen says bird's eye view, thank you, that's exactly right. Take that information into your process, throw it into the pot and see does it work with the other things, or does it not? Okay, make it part of your decision process. But once again, you are the one who will live with the consequences of any decision that you make. So you will need to be the person who actually makes the decision. Because you hear people, man, it drives me nuts when I hear people that are like 50, 60, 70 years old going, well, I'm this way because my parents did this, or my mom did that, or my grandparent did this, or and I'm not saying that to be insensitive. I'm not saying that to be not understanding, because I do understand the impacts. The subliminal soundtrack, man, I'm telling you, this thing fascinates me. It absolutely fascinates me. And there is a point in your life where you may not be at fault for whatever has happened. It may not be your fault that you picked up this particular set of beliefs from this person or that situation. May not be your fault, but if it's not serving you, you are the person who is responsible. You are the only person that can do something about that. Okay, so get out of the fault and blame, because it is a complete waste of time and energy. Get out of the fault and blame game and get into the space of, okay, so here's where I'm at. What do I need to do? What do I need to do to put my pieces back together, to move forward, to, uh, you know, whatever it is, like to move in a different direction, to make different choices? What do I need to do? Incorporate their opinions. It's wonderful to have friends and loved ones who care enough to share that with, but also make sure that they know that you're asking for it, okay? And don't give your opinion if somebody doesn't ask, cuz it doesn't help. It does not help, I promise you. All right, so that is our show for today. Thank you so much for being with me. I have a quote that I want to leave you with. It says, "Remember always that you have an absolute right to do what you believe is the right thing for you. Other people will have thoughts and opinions from their own point of view, and that's okay. But you're the one who will live with the consequences. So even if it's not the popular choice or doesn't make sense to anyone but you, do the thing you know to be right for you." All right. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll be back next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 Mountain, and 10 Pacific. Next week, I'm actually having surgery. So next week is going to be a pre-record. It's called Be Discerning. Whose voice do you give power? Yeah, it was a good one. That's why I chose that one. All right. So thanks again so much for being with me on the show today. Don't forget that, you can go to www.bookacallwithjackie.com to book a call with me. And I would love to speak with you and sort of give you some ideas or thoughts about what's going on in your world. So please take advantage of that. I would love to speak with you. Have a great week.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.